Hello and welcome back to Florida Foodie. I'm your host, Lisa Bell. Today's guest is a New York native who is now living in Lake County, and she is running a family-run farm, raising chickens and selling eggs from pasture-raised chickens. We are so happy to be joined today by Mussette Gonzalez from Le Coop. Am I saying that correctly?
Yes, perfect.
Awesome. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having us.
You brought some of your beautiful eggs.
I did.
Many people have never seen eggs like this before. We're used to the traditional white or brown eggs, but yours are very colorful.
Yes. So my eggs, I call them boutique eggs.
Okay, I like that.
People love to eat with their eyes, so I want them when they open the carton to be surprised at what they see when they open the carton.
They are so gorgeous. So you're from New York originally, but then you came to Florida and you've been running this egg farm for many years now. How did you get started doing something like that?
We started with 4 chickens. My mother used to work for Departments of Corrections here, and they had purchased some chicks for Easter for the families. Then the chickens could not stay on DOC's property, so we brought them over.
Okay.
So we started with 4 buff Orpingtons, which are just golden chickens. They do lay brown eggs, and then it kind of blew up from there.
Did you know anything about chickens prior to that?
No, I'm self-taught. I read a book from Lisa Steele. Her grandmother showed her how to raise chickens naturally, so that's kind of my Bible.
Okay, and prior to that, did you know that you could have a green egg?
I did. My aunt used to have some chickens that had a multicolored egg, so my mom was like, you need to get more chickens.
Yeah, I like that. So you've always kind of had this fascination with chickens.
Yeah, I think so. I think any animal, but with fowl or bird, yeah, I have. Like, I want to get every color possibly that I could get in the carton. I don't want to give 2 of the same color. I want to make sure everybody has a little bit of everything.
That is so amazing. So every type of chicken will lay a different color egg. Is that correct?
That's correct. It's almost like a breed. So, like if I explain it like dogs are different breeds. Some dogs, their breeds are to protect. Some dogs are to be lap dogs. So chickens, same, their breed, but the breed comes with a different color egg.
That is amazing. So as a result, one chicken that lays, say, this egg will never lay a green egg.
Correct.
Okay. Do they taste the same?
They taste exactly the same.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what makes them come out differently? What is it about the chicken? I mean, that's so weird. You would think that if they're eating, right? Like if they're eating the same stuff,
that the eggs will come out all white or brown.
Yes.
You know what? I never looked into that. It has to be a pigment release in the chicken itself, or some chickens originated from a different country. So like the brown ones, the darker brown ones, they're French copper morans. So those will range into 4 different shades, starting from a 5 to like a 9. A 9 being like the darkest brown egg you could ever have.
But they taste the same. Is the nutritional value the same?
Yes, it is.
Wow, that is fascinating. And when people see these eggs for the first time, what is typically their reaction?
They think they're gorgeous.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you started out with a small number of chickens from the state prison.
Yes.
And then how did it grow from there?
It just grew. I decided that we should start a company with what we had, and what we had was land. So why not just do chickens? Everybody eats eggs.
Yeah.
And I thought it would be something that would be sustainable.
Yeah. So the 4 original chickens that you had, who gave them? You said they were for the families.
Yeah, I guess while they were doing visits.
Okay.
And it was during Easter time because they did a lot of different kind of get-togethers. Because this was, I believe, a program that the prisoners were already working. So it was a work release program. So they were about to be released back to their families. So they wanted to build that bond with the families again.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so they introduced the chickens.
Yeah.
And then the chickens had nowhere to go.
Yeah, the chickens couldn't stay.
So then, did you offer to give the prison any eggs from the chickens, or was that
They
all for
never
you?
asked.
They never asked.
No,
Okay.
plus 4 cannot feed a prison.
No.
You're going to get only 4 eggs per day with 4 chickens.
Okay. Yeah. Well, you seem to be producing a lot of eggs. So how many chickens do you have now?
We have around 500 at the moment.
Wow.
We still have 200 that are not producing yet. They should be producing in the next month and a half.
And so when exactly did you start out with the 4? What year was that?
Wow. So it is, we're in 22? Let's say 8 years. So
okay. You went from 4 to 500, possibly 700.
Correct.
How do you manage 700 chickens on a day? Like, what is that like? What is your life like every day?
It's not that bad.
Okay.
I mean, it's a lot of hard labor, yes, especially feeding,
yes.
which may be the hardest part. So the way I kind of work it, when I put the food down, the chickens are still locked in their pens. So you don't have chickens tripping you because you could die there. If a chicken trips you the wrong way, you'll be a goner.
Uh-huh.
So, and then once all the food is out for the whole flock, I'll automatically start opening the doors and they just come out on their own.
Okay.
So it's an easier way to do it because they do have to get locked up during the evenings.
Okay. Yeah. So you mentioned this. So what does your farm look like? I mean, are they all living in pens?
It's more like houses.
Okay.
Or
did you build them all?
My mom did. Yes,
wow.
She has. So the last coop, we're on our 6th coop.
Uh-huh.
The last one was purchased though because we call it Moran House. It took a while for us to build, and that was one of the last biggest coops that we've done.
And how big is that?
So that coop holds almost 200 chickens on its own.
Whoa.
Yeah.
And you mentioned earlier you have some land. So how big of a piece of property are we talking about?
We're on 5 acres.
Okay, yeah. Because for the average person like myself who has actually thought about having a backyard chicken, you actually need a decent amount of space.
You do.
Yeah, and the coop needs to be relatively large.
Relatively large.
Yeah.
They're not going to hang out in the coop all day. They will come out. They will come out to forage and eat and hang out, sunbathe, dust bathe.
And that's good for them. They need that.
That's all natural things chickens do. But like for someone like you, if you're going to get like 2 chickens, I think your backyard would be probably fine enough. You just have to protect them when they go to sleep.
And that is the challenge because there are a lot of predators around here.
There are.
So how do you do that? You go in the morning, you feed them, then you let them out. Mm-hmm. How do you protect that many chickens?
So at the moment, we have some wires running from our coops to our fencing, and we have some balloons hanging off of them. And that's to deter any hawks or eagles.
Yeah.
The moving balloons simulate crows, so they don't get along. So we're just trying to keep them away from them as much as possible. And then when we let them free forage, we stay outside with them.
Wow.
Yeah.
And have you seen any predators come onto your property while they're out there free foraging?
No, not really.
Okay.
It's when you're inside the house and you think everything is okay and you see these big wings above your house, then you got to run out.
Is it primarily from other birds, or what about, like, I hear raccoons and other, like, coyotes even are?
Well, we haven't had much coyotes in a while. At least we haven't heard them pass, like the land next to us.
No gators coming up onto your property?
No gators. We're far away from some water. There's no water close enough. Raccoons, they will. I've had issues with my quails, actually, and predators. I've lost 2 recently, but we kind of rewired that. So that should take care of that issue.
Yeah.
And then you also need like a livestock dog, which I'm in the process of getting soon.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it started out with your 4 chickens, you got a few eggs, and then you're like, there's something we could do with this.
I waited a whole year to get into the farmer's market.
Okay.
So I always had eggs, and I had a tremendous amount of eggs just sitting in the refrigerator, and I could never give eggs away to everybody. And then
you had more eggs than you knew what to do with.
Yeah.
So which farmer's market did you start out at?
So I started at Winter Gardens Farmers Market with the pharmacy, which is my vendor. I started with them. And I've been with them at least 5 years now, I believe.
And so for people who aren't familiar with the pharmacy, tell us about that. They've actually been on Florida Foodie before.
So the pharmacy, they're vendors for local farmers like myself, vegetables, beef, or anything you think of that's grown locally here in Florida, the pharmacy could probably get it for you.
It's FARMACY.
Correct.
Yes, and they are at quite a few farmers markets.
Yes.
Yeah. So you got in with them. It took a year.
Yeah.
And when you first popped up at the Winter Garden Farmers Market, what was that like?
I mean, it was great. I mean, I don't have to be around, which is kind of makes it easier for me. But I love when I used to go in the mornings and, stock up the refrigerators. The people will just grab the eggs and say, oh, we love your eggs. My kids love your eggs. Like, they love the colors. So that meant, like, the world to me because they got them eating eggs again just because of the color of the eggs.
Now, are your eggs organic?
No, they're not.
Okay, so tell us like how you feed your chickens and the difference in all of that.
Okay, so I feed my chickens from a local mill called Knights up in Bushnell, which they process their own feed. And then my chickens get sprouted beans, they get grass, bugs, anything that's on the land that when they forage themselves.
Yeah.
So it's mostly the feed and then whatever foraging they do.
And that does make a huge difference in the taste.
Yes.
So the color might not,
Right.
but what the chickens eat has a huge impact.
Yes, it does.
Were you surprised by that? When I first had kind of a backyard chicken egg versus one that I got at a supermarket,
You can tell the difference.
Night and day. Yeah. Even when you crack it open, it looks totally different.
And the shell is probably a bit harder than a regular store chicken.
These shells are harder. The other interesting thing, some people say, oh, those chickens are sitting out on the table. They better be put in the refrigerator.
No, we're the only country that does that.
So tell us about that.
So at Le Coop, we do not wash our eggs. So they're kept with its natural bloom on, which is a protectant that the chicken seals the porous shell with. So there's no reason to refrigerate them. They could stay outside for 3 weeks, and your eggs will be perfectly fine. It's better to have a room temperature egg than a refrigerated egg anyway. I think so.
So many people worldwide have had sticker shock lately over the price of eggs.
Yes.
Specifically because of the avian flu we hear, which has decimated some chicken populations and caused the price of eggs to go up. Has that had any effect on you or your business?
No, I haven't changed my prices since I started. I didn't get into selling eggs to make a huge profit. I knew a profit could be done, I could make a profit off of it, but I still wanted to be a feasible price for anybody.
Yeah.
My dream was to have a food truck and go around to underprivileged neighborhoods and sell eggs there. Maybe I'll get there one day, but right now we're a bit everywhere.
Yeah.
So there's a demand.
There is a huge demand for these types of eggs specifically. So explain exactly what is the avian flu and how you have been able to avoid.
So the reason we've been able to avoid it, my farm is totally private. I don't allow any outside visitors. I don't allow any picking up at the farm. Booths are cleaned. You just have to keep everything pristine, clean. I can't go with my sneakers I have now and walk around in the coop because you don't want to take those germs. Chickens have very delicate lungs, and that's where the avian flu kind of attacks there.
So even just walking in the soil in downtown Orlando can potentially contaminate your flock.
Yeah.
And it's that widespread.
Yeah.
And are you familiar with other people who've raised chickens who've had avian flu affect them?
I haven't heard of anybody that I know that has had avian flu, at least here in Florida.
I was reading an article, as a result of the avian flu and the prices going sky high, many people are now buying more boutique eggs because the prices are more similar now between, you no longer can get a dozen eggs for 99 cents anymore. Correct. So, yeah. How much do you sell your eggs for?
So the price at the farmer's market, they go around $6.50 a dozen. When I do private deliveries, depending on the location, just because of delivery, they go from $6 to $7.
Okay. And how many dozens of eggs are you producing and selling on a weekly basis?
So last week we sold 99 dozens.
Wow.
Yeah.
Did you ever think you would be doing something like that?
No. But now I just want to do more and more and more.
But it's nice that you don't have to worry about cold storage, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I pack them in a flat, and then we kind of wait until we know who's ordering for the week, and then go out and do deliveries.
And as long as they are not washed, they are good for a month.
Correct.
Yeah. And you let your customers know that.
That's the first thing. They'll see feathers. Sometimes they won't be the cleanest. I try to dry cloth any spots that I think people would not like, but I notice they do take pictures and they'll be like, this is the real thing,
Yeah.
You're just getting an egg that was laid and picked for you and put in a carton, which that's kind of what we do.
And so you've also been working with the Four Roots Foundation, which is operated by John Rivers, the Four Rivers barbecue restaurant, very famous. What exactly are you doing with them, and how is that?
So right now they're at the Packing District Farmers Market. So they do carry the eggs there, and then we're in the program Feed the Need, which is any discarded vegetables they will hand back to me, and I could feed my flock with it.
And how great is that?
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a real win-win, avoiding all of that waste for the landfill,
Right.
and your chickens must love that.
Yes.
What are your plans for the future? You mentioned possibly getting a truck. Yeah.
So right now we have 2 restaurants on our waiting list. So we're just waiting to. I think I might go more restaurant based.
Okay. That would be a huge. I mean, certainly like a breakfast spot.
Yes.
I can't imagine how many dozens of eggs they go through in a day.
I've had inquiries from a breakfast spot that I would love to be in. I'll keep their name private for right now. But they need a lot of eggs. I would need a lot more chickens to fulfill that. But I'm willing to do it.
And it's so amazing because you're doing this with your mom.
Yes.
And you have any other help?
We'll get help sometimes on the weekend, like from my best friends and stuff like that. But it's me and mom all the way.
And do you have an outside job, or is it this 24/7?
So this is 24/7. I've been doing it for a year, 24/7 now.
What were you doing prior to this?
I was actually a medical office manager.
Okay.
Yeah.
So how has that transition been for you, going from that?
It's great. It's so quiet.
And does your mom live on the farm with you?
My mom does live on the farm. She's there 24 hours.
She's no longer working for the Department of Corrections.
No, she's retired. I believe it's 8 years now herself. Okay.
Well, that is fantastic. And I understand you also do you go around to schools and stuff and talk to?
I haven't yet. I've been asked to go over to Edgewater. We've had started the talking process, and I hope that this year I could actually go and teach something or help out, because they do have their own chickens over there.
Are you surprised by how little most people know about eggs and chickens and where eggs come from and how they're produced?
Yeah, I think so, because when someone asks me a question, I'll just go off and they'll be like, oh, we didn't even know that.
Yeah.
And be like, it's just little things that you pick up here and there.
So Julie Broughton, who's an anchor here at News 6, her daughter recently acquired some chickens, and she has what she calls Easter eggers.
Yes, that would be the blue or the green. So she'll get colored eggs.
Okay.
Yeah.
And are there any other colors that are not represented here?
No, I think that might be.
You cover them all?
Yes, all of it.
How many different varieties of chickens do you have?
I should have 9 different varieties of chickens.
And how many are there? Do you know?
I'm going to say 500 plus.
Oh my gosh. So when you expand to fulfill all of these restaurant needs, are you going to stick with what you have, or do you think you'd branch out?
So I think I would go one kind of breed for a restaurant because the size will stay consistent.
Right.
So like these are a little bit different size. They're not graded, meaning large, extra large jumbos, but you'll get a little bit of everything.
How does that work with the state, for example, to go from just raising chickens in your backyard to actually being able to sell them to people?
Well, I'm a backyard farmer, so the way it works is I'm not trying to sell in a store or to that nature. So they're pasture raised eggs. I'm not trying to be this big conglomerate poultry egg producer.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to stay very minimal.
Yeah. So you brought a variety of things. What's the difference between these and those?
Okay, so these are our regular chicken eggs. These are actually duck eggs.
Oh, wow. You also have ducks.
We do. We have around 20 ducks on the farm right now.
Now, what is the difference between these and these besides where they came from?
Okay, so the duck egg is much richer and fattier. It does contain a bit of alkaline in the egg itself, which it's not with the chicken. So that's like the main difference. And plus, that came from a duck, and these came from chickens.
Okay. And then what do we have going on over here?
We have our newest, which would be quail eggs.
Ooh, they're so cute.
Yes.
Little baby eggs. Yes. Those are beautiful. Now, these look Easter eggy.
Right.
So are there different varieties of quail or no? They're all the same?
There are a bit different variety of quail.
Okay.
Any quail egg is going to come out spotted.
Okay.
There is a Celadon quail, which is a Coturnix quail, which will give you like that bluish kind of spotted egg.
Okay.
So we definitely had to have the blue.
And what do you do with a quail egg?
So the quail egg, you pickle it. You could make an omelet. You'll need to use all 15 for an omelet, but it would be the best omelet if you had.
Really?
Quail eggs are very delicious.
And describe, if you can, the difference in taste between a regular chicken egg and a quail egg.
I think a quail egg is much creamier.
Oh, wow.
If that makes any sense. Then
Yeah.
they eat a higher protein level than a chicken. A chicken could eat from a 16 to 21% protein, and a quail eats up to 30% protein.
Okay.
So,
and what do these retail for?
The quail eggs are a bit more expensive because they do get all organic food. So they go for like $9 for the 15 count. And then for the duck eggs, I sell only half a dozen just because no one ever uses a full dozen of duck eggs.
Yeah.
And that's usually $7. And these are very seasonal. So once they've gone through their laying season, they'll take a huge break.
So they don't lay an egg a day like a chicken does?
Well, not all chickens lay egg a day either.
How often do they lay an egg?
So like Easter eggers will lay 260 eggs per year.
Okay.
A leghorn, which is the white egg, almost 310. And then you'll have different variations of that.
What about a brown egg?
A brown egg, only 280.
Wow.
Yes.
Okay. Is there a reason? So that must be, I mean, because you see a lot of white eggs in the store. So I'm assuming it's because those chickens produce more eggs.
They do produce great. They're a great layer. That's what we'll say. They're a great laying chicken. And they don't go broody, meaning they don't sit on eggs to hatch them.
Okay.
So they're not prone to go broody at all.
Now, do you have to keep your quails separated from your ducks, separated from your chickens?
So the quails do need to be separated because they don't free range. If you would open the quail pen, they will be gone.
They'll just fly away.
Yeah, that's it. They're scatterbrains. They get scared really quickly, and we've had it happen twice. We opened the door and she just flew out and we couldn't catch her.
It's like a helium balloon. It almost like,
and gone. But the ducks and the chickens do cohabitate actually together.
Okay.
Yes.
They don't fight or anything
They do.
that?
There'll be a little bit of pushing here.
Territorial.
Or,
yeah.
Here and there, but they cohabitate well. I actually have my oldest duck, excuse me. She is a great mama. So we give her like any kind of babies. She'll know like to let them under her wing and,
That is sweet.
Yeah, so.
Do you breed any of the birds?
Not yet.
Okay.
That will be coming.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you're growing.
Just to grow in-house more than to sell outside.
Yeah. Where do you buy that many chickens?
So I usually buy my chickens from Myers Hatchery. So they come, I believe, from Wisconsin. So they'll come. They come shipped in the mail.
And I imagine you have a pretty big online social media presence.
I do on Instagram. I'm trying to grow my TikTok right now, but that's a whole nother.
That's a full-time job in and of itself.
It is. I've been cheating.
So where can people find you online, and how can they order some of these eggs, and how can they get them?
Okay, so you can find us on Instagram under Le Coop. Also, TikTok is Le Coop. And then farmers markets, it's Saturday, every Saturday at the Winter Gardens Farmers Market, the Packing District Farmers Market. And if you're eating out, Kappa Steakhouse at the Four Seasons, they have an egg dish. So Seki uses our eggs, and one of a cottage baker, Nomad Bakehouse, uses our eggs at the moment. And Red Light, a beer. They pickle the quail eggs and chicken eggs.
How cool is that?
Yeah, so you could taste them without buying them, kind of.
And do you otherwise ship them if people wanted them sent to them, or no?
No, there would be no.
Or deliver? Where do you deliver?
I deliver kind of everywhere. So I do usually my downtown deliveries on Wednesdays and Fridays, and then anybody local I could do.
And you actually do the delivery yourself?
It's all me. Yeah.
And your mom?
And my mom doesn't deliver.
How do you have time to do all this?
I mean, there's 24 hours in the day.
When you don't sleep much. Are they noisy?
They can be, especially when they're laying. They cackle a lot. They sing a lot when they're laying. Roosters are the noisiest of them, but you get used to the noise, and when you don't hear it, then you know something's
wrong.
Yeah,
it's like having little kids around.
Yeah, it's too quiet. You got to go check out what's going on. Yeah.
And what sort of trouble do they get into?
Exactly. They're always where they're not supposed to be.
Have you named them all?
In the beginning, I did. I will say they all had like queen, empress, very regal names. And now they're ladies, mama, kamanena, or, something sweet. They have nicknames, but the roosters have their names. And then you have certain hens that stand out that they'll have a name.
Yeah, and they all have their own little personality.
All of them do, yeah.
Well, thank you so much. This was so much fun.
Thank you for having us.
Yes, these are so beautiful. I know that when people see these, they just want to immediately try them. So it's so fun. Yes, thank you.
Thank you again.
Thank you for listening to Florida Foodie. We'd also like to thank our guest, Mussette Gonzalez. You can find her business on Instagram. Just search for Le Coop, Coop spelled Koope. Be sure to follow Lisa Bell online. Search Lisa Bell News on Facebook and Instagram, or Lisa Bell News 6 on Twitter. You can also find Candace Campos on social media. She's on Twitter, just search @CandaceNews6. And on Facebook, search Candace Campos News 6. Also, a big thank you to our technical producers, Derek Mosier and Ryan Haley, our post-production audio engineer, Chris Flora, and our director, Bob Myers. I'm the show's producer, Thomas Mates. Please take the time to rate and review us on Apple Podcasts and Spotify, or wherever you stream podcasts. And you can find videos of all of our podcasts on clickorlando.com and on YouTube. Just search for Florida Foodie.